Alright, what is up YouTube? It is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video for y'all today. I'm going to be talking about why Canelo Alvarez has highly underestimated Caleb Plant very bad, and Caleb Plant has played his cards right. So basically, the title of this would be Caleb fooled Canelo Alvarez very well. So yeah, let's dive into it. For those of you that may not understand what this video is about, I'm just going to give my objective assessment of how I believe Caleb Plant basically tricked Canelo into this fight very well. And this could be a very huge, underestimated, I guess, belief that Canelo Alvarez has not seen out of Caleb Plant. And this could be a very highly anticipated fight that could lead to a possible upset if Caleb Plant plays his cards right come Saturday night for, undisputed for the super middleweight championship. So, yeah, let's talk about it. Caleb Plant, 6'1". He's a orthodox, been fighting out of Nashville, Tennessee. Very good, pure boxer. Like some may say he doesn't have power, but I would say that he does have power, but it's just volume punching. But his power isn't really needed, so he's more of like a pure boxer semi-puncher. He obviously does not go for knockouts. He only just goes to just get the victory. But Caleb Plant is a very good, well-rounded boxer. Has amazing, great fundamentals. Footwork is insane. Defense is really good when he utilizes it. And he has awesome ring IQ. Whatever you try to throw at Caleb, he's just going to out-counter you, and he's going to make you think in the fight alone, and he's going to frustrate you. He's going to do the things similar to what Floyd Mayweather has done. But he's just going to do it in a much more bigger, elusive manner. So I truly believe Caleb Plant is that one-hit wonder where he's going to give you what you didn't think he was not going to give you, and that's very dangerous if you're coming from, a puncher type of style like Canelo, where you just think, man, he ain't that, he ain't that good, I'm just going to walk right through him, blah, 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 and he's going to get knocked out, and, it's kind of similar with Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, part 2. And, it's kind of like when Mike Tyson, he wasn't training as hard and he wasn't dedicating his discipline correctly to be dominant against Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas, he just caught him slipping in the fight and he ended up knocking Mike Tyson out. And I'm not to say that Canelo is Mike Tyson doing all these crazy shit outside the ring, but then again, when you take a look at how he's been treating this fight, he's been coming into this fight extremely comfortable. He hasn't really been like, oh man, hey Caleb, I'm ready for you, blah, blah, blah. Which, I mean, yeah, he says certain things here or there to promote the fight, but at the same time, it's like, do we really believe what Canelo, is saying is true? You could just see from his track record, from his emotional outbreaks against Caleb Plant, it seems like he's more nervous of what Plant has said about him. So now the pressure is on Canelo to prove that he's not a cheater by any means necessary coming into the fight. And this is going to be a fight where Canelo's true boxing skills are going to be tested. Are you are you skilled enough to break down a pure, well-rounded fundamentalist boxer? And that answer is yet to be answered because we've seen what Canelo Alvarez has done in the ring. Canelo Alvarez is a good, he's a good, how should I say? He's a good standard, puncher. But the problem with him is, his timing and his athletic ability cannot handle a guy that's quicker and faster than him. And if they could hit just as hard or more than harder than him, then Canelo, he's going to have some problems. Canelo knows he cannot mess with guys that are more agile than him. And it's just been shown with that track record that Canelo, he looks really, really bad against guys that know how to fundamentally break him down from a pure boxer stance. But from a puncher stance, we all know Canelo, he does well against guys that are just as good to his style, but they're not fundamentally sound to get away from punches from Canelo. And Canelo, he's been fighting certain styles that made him feel comfortable coming into those fights, where he doesn't have to worry about somebody moving around, giving him really, really weird, unorthodox angles, and also beating him down to the punch, where Canelo cannot figure you out. He's always put to a reset at the center, and that's really why Canelo, he's been staying away from guys that are slick style fighters. But coming into this fight, we just know damn well that Caleb Plant is almost a nightmare to what Canelo does not want to face. Because why was it that when Canelo was trying to catch Caleb Plant on short notice, Caleb Plant was like, wait a minute, why the hell do you want me to fight you at the start of, I think it was back in January leading into May, but, for those of you that don't know, Caleb Plant, he was going to be sent like a offer by Canelo's team, and Canelo wanted to get him out the way, but obviously we just knew that Caleb Plant, he obviously knew that there was something fishy about those contract stipulations, so he said, no, I'm not going to take this fight. And, he said, he would be ready, but he needs a little bit more time to get ready. So that way, the drug testing and all that shit could be set up. So that way there's no, fishy shit going behind closed doors. So Canelo's team said, no, we're not going to be doing that. And it's like, that doesn't make any damn sense, because it's like, even though that you were going to unify with Plant, who was going to be your toughest opponent leading up to this Saturday, why didn't you just give enough time for Plant to get ready and have like the designated amount of drug testing time being put into this fight, so that way there's no cheating? Because that's really what the biggest problem that Caleb Plant has exposed out of Canelo is his cheating. And people want to say, oh, well, you can't blame Canelo, you have to blame the commission and whatever. Yeah, I get that, but Canelo should be the one responsible for his own well-being, of what he puts inside his body. And the problem that I have with Canelo is that Canelo is not a man of his word. If he knows if he could abuse something that he's going to take advantage of, what makes you think Canelo is not going to be dumb enough to not do it? He's not going to be like, oh, no, I'm a clean fighter. I've been in the WBC clean program for X amount of year, blah, blah, blah. No, motherfucker. If you are a face of a sport and people are hyping you up to be the next big thing or the biggest pay-per-view or whatever star, you're going to do some dirty-ass shit, because people are going to be blind of the truth to say what they're going to say about you, to say, oh no, he's a clean fighter, look at how strong he is and how much conviction that he throws with his punches and blah blah blah. Canelo is not stupid, guys. Canelo is going to come in with whatever type of substances that he thinks he could take advantage of, and I guarantee you Canelo, he's probably going to come in cheating in this fight. I don't believe Canelo is clean, but even if he is clean, you're going to see a much different Canelo Alvarez, where he is not as strong as you think he is. Let me ask you something. When has any fighter come up from a smaller weight to bigger weights and their power can still be the same and their stamina can be the same? I'll wait. It's never happened before, because you can't physically and mentally be the same fighter coming into different weight classes and still trying to perform at a high level. That's why when we seen Roy Jones do it, from coming up all the way from 160 or like whatever weight class all the way up to heavyweight, like what happened to him? He just started losing a lot of stamina. As he went up to heavyweight, he started bulking up, all muscle. And I mean, yeah, he did good beating Johnny Ruiz, but when he went back down to light heavyweight to face Antonio Tarver, he was never the same fucking fighter. You cannot tell me that you could just build muscle and then after that you could just cut all that muscle out and look okay. That doesn't make any damn sense. Canelo Alvarez is almost in that same light, where when you look at his upper body looks amazing, but his lower body looks absolutely terrible. You cannot be that big for your height at 168 or 175, and yet your body does not go through any wear and tear through the lower portions of your core, making you more vulnerable to your stamina, that makes no sense, because Canelo is not doing anything natural to the point of him cutting his weight to his natural body weight. Because for that person to be that huge at 5'7", probably shorter than Floyd Mayweather, and fighting guys that are naturally bigger than him and taller than him and longer than him, it makes no sense whatsoever. And Canelo, I swear, if he does get exposed by Caleb Plant, it's going to be a really bad night for Canelo. And I truly believe that, because I don't think Canelo is going to come in clean into this fight. But even if he was to get exposed by Caleb Plant, even if he wasn't not to cheat or attempt to cheat against Plant, I truly believe that Canelo is still going to lose to a much naturally bigger guy that has been in his division ever since he came into the pros. So, yeah, miss me with that bullshit to tell me that Caleb Plant is going to get steamrolled by Canelo, because Canelo has not fought a true 168-pounder like Caleb Plant. And I mean, some may say, oh, well, look at Rocky Fielding, look at Caleb Smith, look at Advil Urine, look at Billy Ho Saunders. All four of these opponents are not true 168-pounders. And to say the least, Canelo had it easy facing those guys, because those guys were not as quick and agile compared to Caleb Plant. Like, somebody that has true ring IQ, has true pure boxing ability, somebody that's able to give him problems and make him think in a fight where he cannot make these, amazing punches to, land on his opponents elusively. He's never been in the ring with those type of fighters, aka pure skill boxers, because Canelo, he's afraid of those styles. Ever since the Lara, the Austin Trout fight, the Floyd Mayweather fight, even Jose Cotto, Miguel Cotto's brother, he was touching Canelo up, and Canelo, he was afraid to go to war with Jose Cotto. And luckily he was able to get a stoppage, but Jose Cotto, from what I saw from that fight, Miguel Cotto's brother almost stopped Canelo Alvarez off the ropes. And Canelo, he did not know what to do against a very fast, aggressive style boxer puncher like Jose Cotto. But that's never to say that Canelo is not going to get hurt by Caleb Plant, because Caleb Plant is a bigger guy than Canelo. So what makes you think Caleb Plant cannot do the same thing to Canelo and hurt him? I mean, don't get it twisted. Canelo, he has a really good chin, but I think when pressure does get to him, pressure's going to bust pipes to the point where Canelo, once he feels that 168, power from Caleb Plant, I truly believe Canelo, he's going to break down. And he's going to start to feel the, deep water effects from Caleb Plant. And I'm not to say Caleb Plant, can stop Canelo, which would be very shocking. But I truly believe that Caleb Plant is going to give Canelo his toughest fight ever. And Canelo is not going to say that he's levels above Caleb. He's really going to say to Caleb, you're a really good fighter. You brought the best out of me, and I've never been tested to this type of level. And I would really hope this fight really does go the full distance, because if Caleb Plant can beat Canelo, then I'm just going to come back here shitting on Canelo anyway. But if Canelo wins, look, I'm going to give Canelo all his credibility, and I'll say congratulations for being the first Hispanic, Latino, undisputed 4-belt era champion. Because you had it so easy to the point where you came into a division where a guy like David Benavidez surrendered he lost his belt off the scale. So you had to come in at a right place at a right time to barely get a good win over, the second best super middleweight in the division, that being Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. So, Canelo Alvarez knows that he wouldn't have been there in the first place if it wasn't for David Benavidez to give up his belt. So, I don't know, honestly, Canelo Alvarez, he's really in for a really tough fight. And I think Caleb Plant, he did a really good job trying to catch Canelo at the right place at the right time. And it was good enough that, Canelo, saw something out of Caleb Plant for him to try to take this fight. But how I truly believe Caleb Plant is looking at this as a good bait and switch against Canelo is that part of me kind of feels like Caleb Plant, he was making himself, look vulnerable to make Canelo, come after him for that undisputed right away because Caleb Plant wasn't 100%, but Canelo saw that as a quick opportunity for him to defeat him. So the only problem with this equation is that Canelo probably thinks Caleb Plant is going to be the same Caleb Plant that's not going to be 100% for this fight, and he's going to break down to Canelo when Canelo hits him, and his physical deficiencies are going to kick in where he's going to get hurt and cut easier, and then Canelo's going to, just annihilate him and kill him. And I truly don't see it to be like that, but the reason why Caleb Plant probably did it for that manner was simply because he knew what Canelo wanted to do as far as unifying for undisputed. So I think Caleb Plant purposely did that to make himself look vulnerable, and then Caleb Plant is going to present a much different style where Canelo has never seen before, and Canelo, he's going to be very shocked of what Caleb Plant is going to present to him. So I think what's going to happen is that Caleb Plant is going to obviously just start the pace pretty fast, use his jab very, very well, and I think Canelo, he's going to be extremely frustrated for the first 4 to 5 rounds. And then from round 5 up until round 8 or 9, Canelo is going to try knocking Plant out. He's going to try, attacking the body and try to, mess up Caleb Plant to the body. And when Caleb Plant, starts to feel that, stamina, kicking in, I think Plant is going to shock Canelo with some mean punches where Canelo, he's not able to utilize his punches effectively, which I think Plant is going to work Canelo to the body, and he's going to clip Canelo to the body. And when Canelo knows that he is not as quick and he is not as agile compared to Caleb Plant is going to press that action, and he's going to beat Canelo down with body shots. And I think Canelo, he's going to try to do it too, but Canelo's hands are not as quick compared to Caleb Plant's hands. So Caleb Plant, what he needs to do the same thing what Lara and Trout did. But what he needs to do is let his hands go more to the body and also hit Canelo with that jab after you hit him to the body. Because if he does that, he can also jab, body shot, and then jab, jab. That would be a really good combination to break Canelo down. And I think that's what Canelo is afraid of. He's afraid of what Plant is going to give to him, from the inside, combination, execution. So if Plant does what he needs to, do correctly, he can definitely hurt Canelo. But at the same time, he has to just be careful of Canelo's wild ass punches that he tries to throw with bad conviction. And once he's able to, get that, defensive timing down where he's able to just catch Canelo with those mean, clean shots, I think Canelo, he's going to start feeling those punches late game, and then it's either going to end in a very close, split decision, or it could be a late game knockout. I think one of these fighters are going to get dropped, and I won't be surprised because Canelo, he's a short guy. He's the smaller guy facing a much, much bigger guy. And when I say bigger guy, Caleb Plant is just as big as David Benavidez. And for me, myself, I'm 6 feet, I'm 307 pounds, but my natural weight is technically 215 pounds or 205. But I guarantee you, if David Benavidez or Caleb Plant were standing right next to me, they'd be not as big as me, but they'd be closer to my weight, almost like a heavyweight, but just in a smaller, athletic body. So that's really the scarier part about Plant and Benavidez and why that fight is a lot more interesting, because those guys are true super middleweights that could actually do some damage to you. And I'm not to say that Plant, he hits as hard as David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez is a extremely good, boxer puncher, in which he mostly resorts to a puncher type dreadful style, but still Caleb Plant has the more elusive pure boxing talent, where David Benavidez, he could be disrupted by that. He could easily be disrupted by that type of style. But I think eventually, with that fight being made, hopefully in the future, which I would like to still see that fight, even if Plant wins or loses. But hey, if that fight can be made, I definitely like to see that, because Caleb Plant, he's still in his prime. David Benavidez, he's still in his prime. So it's like, that fight needs to be made sooner than later. I would like to see that fight, but I think what Plant is focusing on is tomorrow for the biggest fight of his life, November the 6th. Here we come. Undisputed is going to be crowned sooner than later. And it's going to be a really extreme difficult fight for Plant and Canelo. But I think Caleb Plant has the upper advantage over Canelo. And I think what's going to happen is that this fight is going to be extremely difficult late game. But early game, it's going to be Caleb Plant. But I think Caleb Plant's conditioning and his focus late game is going to be vastly improved and more disciplined, where he's not going to let Canelo hurt him. He's going to watch out for those mean hooks and those mean jabs to the body, where he's going to be like, okay, look, even if your punches are going to hurt me and I'm still able to walk right through them, or at least take them and not actually feel anything, like, how should I say, feel any damage from them, then I truly believe Canelo, he's in trouble for Caleb Plant. And I think that's what Canelo isn't aware of. He's not aware of what Caleb Plant is going to do to him with those punches from I guess like from the outside midsection position. Because if he can't get in the inside to hurt Caleb Plant, it's really going to be a bad night for Canelo. It's going to end up just like a Floyd Mayweather type of fight, or a Manny Pacquiao versus Ugas type of fight 2.0. So I think Canelo, if he does get frustrated in this fight and he can't do what he thinks he could have done, because he is coming into this fight overconfident and he's overlooking Plant, which is a good thing for Caleb Plant. So I think what Caleb Plant just needs to do, he just needs to shock the world and shock Canelo. Because when he gets shocked by Caleb Plant's elusive style, and Caleb Plant is able to do the things that he knows that he could do to Canelo, I think Canelo, he's going to get whooped, man. And I'm not, just trying to feel super overconfident for Caleb Plant. I truly believe, as a boxing fanatic and a person that is, in the sport myself, that does train whenever I do have time, when I look at those styles, I look at Caleb Plant to be that type of style that favors me, to say, if I'm facing a puncher, and let's just say that I'm more of a pure boxer puncher, but I resort to pure boxing skill fundamentals, I'm going to roll with Caleb Plant, because Canelo, his feet are too slow, his hands are good when he's able to hit you against a guy that just likes to stand right in front of you, aka all the Eurobums that he's fought. But if Canelo can't touch you and he's not able to, move as fast in the ring because he has extremely slow feet, I truly believe I'm going to have to stick with the pure boxer that is going to destroy Canelo and make him think a lot more and reset a lot more, where he's not going to be able to do the things that you think he's going to do, because he's never fought those type of styles enough for him to be completely focused to stop a guy that's a pure boxer. And yes, I know that, all the Canelo fanboy dick riders that are going to hate me after this video trying to say, nah, Canelo, he fought Amir Khan. He fought all these other pure boxers, and look at how good he's become, man. Canelo, he gonna whoop Plant, and he gonna get Plant them hands. You being stupid dick riding for your American Caleb Plant. And I'm like, since when has Canelo ever done well against a guy like Caleb Plant? Can you name one fighter that is similar to Caleb Plant's style that's going to make Canelo think he's going to steamroll him? Because I'll wait, but until then, you guys don't have an answer, because you don't have that fighter that you can go back to say Caleb Plant has been a style that Canelo has fought. And then on top of that, who has Canelo been sparring lately? Can I ask you guys that? Who the fuck has he been sparring for him to understand Caleb Plant's style? Because I swear to God, like, you guys are so dumb and so delusional to lie for Canelo. But at the same time, you don't know what the fuck Canelo has been doing in camp. It seems like he's just been focusing more on punching power. He hasn't been focusing on, like, what type of style Caleb Plant has. But then on top of that, I've seen Canelo train southpaw too, so maybe that might play a factor in that fight. But I'm not trying to give any ideas for team Canelo. But I swear to God, if he's not able to be prepared for a guy like Caleb Plant, and I swear if he's been facing, the same sparring partners that he would think that are gonna make him defeat Plant, and he's gonna be able to do the things that he thinks he's gonna do, that's not gonna happen. Like, for him facing Ronald Ellis, that's not gonna prepare you for a Caleb Plant fight, because Ronald Ellis is not Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is way better than Ronald Ellis. But that's just, obviously looking at it from a stylistic point of view. But I don't think you could find any style that is a copy and paste style just as identical to Caleb Plant's style. But I don't know, man. It's really difficult to see, what type of, game plan that Canelo or Plant is going to come with. But I'm going to be riding with Plant, and I'll be very, very shocked to see what Plant is going to do to Canelo. Because if I am correct, and Plant does come out victorious, or Canelo comes out victorious, I'm either going to give Canelo his credibility, and I'm going to be like, okay, congratulations, you did a amazing job, and Viva la Mexico, and whatever bullshit, and congratulations for being the first Hispanic, Latino, undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, and that's a huge moment for everybody. Or I'm just going to shit on Canelo, and I'm going to be like, haha, I was right. You're not as good as you say that you were. And Caleb Plant, undisputed motherfucker. And America runs fucking boxing. Hell yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's going to, obviously, either way, I'm going to be content with whoever wins. Because, it's obviously, going to be, one of the best fights going down this year. Probably second with Wilder Fury 3, so, whatever happens, happens, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Canelo is, the best fighter ever. Yeah, he was the best fighter that obviously took over 168 when David Benavidez was not a threat in that division, but also Caleb Plant, he was his biggest threat in that division too. So, either way, it's still going to be one of the best fights ever, because Canelo will make history. And, yeah, congratulations, for Mexico. But it's like, Canelo still has a lot more to prove. If anything, after this, he should go straight for legacy fights and just, call it a day, when it's all said and done. But either way, Canelo, he still has a big test ahead of him, and I think Caleb Plant is going to annihilate Canelo, giving him his toughest fight ever, and I won't be surprised what the outcome will be if Caleb Plant is able to get the right judges on his side, but I would really hope that Canelo doesn't get this political backing, through the judges, where Caleb Plant is just automatically just out of what the picture when it comes to the scorecards. But if Caleb Plant can, impress other judges enough where he just automatically just destroys Canelo, where Canelo just looks like the same Canelo from the Floyd Mayweather, Lara, and Austin Trout fights, then, by all means, Caleb Plant is definitely going to come in with a Buster Douglas mentality. And I really hope that he does, because Caleb Plant, he has more to gain, and Canelo, he has more to lose. So whatever happens after this fight, this is going to be like one of the best fights ever. And this is truly the best fight and the best 50-50 matchup. But for people to say that Caleb, he's going to get knocked out easily by Canelo, everybody's just, capping for Canelo. And everybody talking all that bullshit, trying to act like Canelo, he's a puncher and he can knock everybody out. But it's like, the last person he knocked out was Rocky Fielding? Or no, it was Kovalev. Yeah, it was Kovalev, because I remember that fight being the latest knockout. But even in that fight, Kovalev even said, like, that fight wasn't even like a real knockout. So, like, what makes you think Canelo actually got a, legitimate knockout? Shit, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. But yeah, like, what makes you think Canelo has ever gotten a legitimate knockout in his career as of lately? Because I think Canelo's power is good, but to the point of what people may say is like, just ultra, mega power. I obviously just don't see that to be true. I truly believe most of his knockouts have just mainly been stoppages, but he hasn't really been knocking everybody out. But yeah, right here, his latest knockout was against Sergey Kovalev 2 years ago, and in the 11th round. And then, the knockout, before then was Rocky Fielding. So it's like all the other stoppages weren't really real knockouts. So it's like Canelo, if we're going to be honest, like, he's just a pure, volume, puncher. That's just really how we see, or how I see Canelo's power. So I don't see Canelo being this type of mega, super puncher, because, he's not really knocking everybody out as people would say he is. Granted, he can hurt you, but at the same time, he's not really going to that level of, like, actually knocking you out with that one-hitter quitter. And, most of his fights that he has been in, that he's been getting, all these crazy knockouts and shit, were against guys with losing records, or guys that started in their debut, or like basically just guys that haven't really, been boxing that much in their career. So, he's been fighting, most of his opponents with losing records, or just guys that are just, journeymen in the sport. So I think, if anything, his biggest tests leading up to Caleb Plant was, I would say the, whatchamacallit, I would say the Austin Trout fight, Floyd Mayweather, and then Lara, and then I'd probably say Gennady Golovkin, Cotto, and I'd say maybe, I was going to say Billy Joe, but I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I would probably say that's about it. Yeah, because ever since then, like, like, most of his other fights haven't really been that, intriguing to the audience. So it's not like he's, like, ultra battle tested. Canelo has been fighting a bunch of, bums for the majority of his career. So it's like, he's not as good as he says that he is, and we're going to find out come Saturday. So I think Canelo, he's in for a really bad night, and I won't be surprised if Caleb Plant does the same thing what you think he couldn't do to Canelo, and I think that's what's going to happen. It's not going to end up like a Caleb Smith type of fight. where Canelo's just gonna break Caleb down, and then he's gonna hurt Caleb, and then Caleb's just gonna quit, either on a stool or on the ropes. I truly believe Caleb Plant is going to give Canelo a difficult fight, and Caleb Plant, if he does what he's like, if he does what he's capable of doing, Caleb Plant is going to dominate Canelo. So that's my final prediction. I can't wait for Saturday, and we're gonna find out. So yeah, I think Canelo, he's in for a major surprise, and Caleb Plant is definitely underestimated by Canelo. So I can't wait what Caleb Plant I can't wait for what Caleb Plant is gonna do to Canelo, and giving him the biggest ass whooping of a lifetime. So yeah, so tune in for Saturday. I'm gonna give my post fight reaction to Plant versus Canelo. And yeah, until next time, shout out to the LDBC, and I will see you guys later. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and peace out.